The rain fell in rhythmic sheets against the age-worn stones of Gdora Fortress. The storm had swept in from the highlands just after sundown, draping the ancient walls in a grey curtain and sending most of the fortress's inhabitants scrambling for shelter. But not all. In the open courtyard, ringed by flickering amber torches that sputtered defiantly against the downpour, stood two figures. One was massive, a tower of muscle and ceremonial armor, his blue skin glistening with rain. Durak, the champion of House Vera, was known across the Kaldorian provinces for his ruthless discipline and devotion to tradition. Facing him, soaked to the bone and visibly annoyed, was a human. Dunn had not come to Gdora for a fight. He'd come to drop off a shipment of plasma filters and exotic protein packs, nothing exciting, nothing complicated. He hadn't even disembarked the Artemis in uniform. The cargo delivery manifest, the local customs clearance, and one well-earned drink at the local tavern had been his plan. Instead, here he stood, sword in hand, raindrops sliding down the polished steel blade, heart pounding under the oppressive gazes of dozens of alien eyes. He exhaled slowly, trying to ignore the circle of cloaked observers gathered around him, all of them taller than him, all blue-skinned, all watching in tense silence. "This is completely unnecessary," he said, his voice steady despite the nerves tightening his gut. "I merely said your drink looked interesting." From the far side of the courtyard, beneath a silk canopy now soaked and drooping under the weight of water, Lady Era stood tall and unmoving. Her silver-white hair clung to her face in wet strands, framing high cheekbones and sapphire eyes that radiated imperious calm. She didn't blink as her champion growled a reply. "You dishonored Lady Era," Durak snarled. "You spoke without being granted leave. You mocked her by using your base tongue in her presence." Blinked. "I said, nice color. That's a compliment where I'm from." Durak lifted his curved blade, its edge catching the torchlight with a lethal gleam. "The challenge has been issued, human," Lady Era called, her voice carrying through the courtyard like the chime of cold bells. "To withdraw now would mean forfeiting your life." M's eyes flicked to her, ignoring the angry breath Durak drew in at the perceived disrespect. "Lady Era," he said carefully, "I meant no insult. Can we resolve this without blood?" She tilted her head ever so slightly. "Kaldorian law does not bend for human confusion." "Of course not," muttered, raising his sword. Durak attacked first, a blur of armored motion that forced into a defensive role. The force of the first strike shuddered down his blade and into his bones. The champion was fast for his size, powerful, and obviously skilled. Knew better than to try brute strength against him. "Great," he muttered, sidestepping another wide arc of steel. "First alien duel of my life, and it's with the guy built like a ground transport tank." For nearly 10 minutes, the two danced across the wet stones, blades clashing, feet slipping. The crowd murmured with every close call, every spin and parry. Was focused entirely on survival, not victory. Then he saw the opening. Durak lifted his sword overhead for a killing strike, but his foot slipped slightly on the rain-slick stone. In that moment, moved. He ducked low, pivoted, and drove his blade upward in one clean, brutal arc. The blade sliced through Durak's abdomen and chest, severing muscle, bone, and organs in one terrifying blow. Time slowed. Durak's face twisted into confusion. He staggered back half a step, then another, and then fell apart. Quite literally. His upper body slid off the lower half and hit the ground with a sickening slap. Blue blood poured across the courtyard, diluted by rain, running in rivulets toward the drains. The crowd gasped as one. Stumbled back a step, panting. He looked at his blade, still humming with kinetic energy, then turned toward Lady Era. She stood frozen. The blood had drained from her face, leaving her regal blue complexion pale and cold. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Behind her, 5 women in dark, tailored garments, maids or retainers, assumed, exchanged uneasy glances. "I didn't want this," said softly. Lady Era blinked once, twice, then slowly descended to her knees. The maids followed suit. "What are you doing?" he asked, bewildered. An older male Kaldorian, robed in ceremonial silk, stepped forward from the circle of onlookers. "You have defeated Lady Ira's champion in sanctioned combat," he said gravely. "By the ancient law of bond and blade, she and her household now belong to you." Emp's mouth fell open. "Wait. What? You are now the legal master of House Vera's matron and her bonded concubines." "I don't want concubines. To refuse them is to invite eternal dishonor. To accept is to be bound by Kaldorian sacred law." Era remained kneeling, but her gaze had hardened again. Her pride wrapped itself around her like a cloak, even in the mud. "We will honor our law," she said icily. Emp looked between her, the elder, the kneeling women, and the bisected corpse bleeding into the stones. "Damn it," he muttered. This wasn't in the mission briefing. The rain had stopped by the time Emp led his unexpected entourage to the spaceport. Era walked beside him, head high, silver hair braided into a single tight coil. The 5 women followed silently, each carrying a small case. None of them spoke until they reached Bay 17, where the Artemis waited. "This is unnecessary," Era said sharply. "By Kaldorian law, you are entitled to residence befitting your new rank." "I'm not interested in rank," Emp said. "Or concubines. Or any of this. I'm a delivery pilot. That's it." "We are not slaves," Era said stiffly. "I didn't say you were. You imply it with every word." He sighed. "I just want to leave without offending anyone or getting stabbed again." A small voice spoke up behind them. "I can help with the ship." It was Lena, the youngest of the maids. Her blue skin shimmered faintly in the light. She stepped forward, her hands clasped. "I studied off-world systems in secret," she admitted. "I know Terran designs." Emp raised a brow. "You're full of surprises." She smiled faintly. "Not all of us spend our lives pouring tea." Inside the Artemis, she moved with quiet confidence, helping him prep the ship. When the diagnostic console screamed red, Emp cursed aloud. "Someone's tampered with the fuel injectors," he growled. "Sabotage." Lena frowned. "Norland." "Who?" "Prefect Norland. Ira's political rival. He must have anticipated this." "Great." As they regrouped outside, Ira's expression was grim. "We must leave the spaceport," she said. "He'll have us arrested by morning." Emp ran a hand through his wet hair. "I know a place." And so they went, to the inn of a retired Marine named Harding, where the rain still whispered on stone, and where the law of concubines was about to become far more personal than Emp had ever imagined. The warmth of the bathhouse clung to Emp's skin long after they'd returned to the open air. Steam curled from his damp hair as he crossed the outer courtyard, trailed by 6 women in flowing linen robes. The scent of lavender oil and mineral salt still lingered in the fabric of their garments. The night was brisk, stars stretched over the canyon like ancient watchfires. But the quiet did not last. A crackle of static came through his wristband. "Captain, we've got a breach in the Artemis's portside cargo bay. Hull integrity is compromised. She won't be space-worthy until the repairs are complete." Emp froze, jaw tightening. "How bad?" "Bad enough," came the reply. "Deliberate. Somebody sliced through the shielding with precision cutters." Lena and Tara exchanged a glance. Mira's eyes narrowed. "Sabotage," Era said softly, stepping beside him. Her green skin gleamed in the torchlight. "I warned you. Norland doesn't tolerate disobedience. You stole his property." "I saved your lives," Emp growled. "And he will never forgive you for that." They took refuge at the Kandari Trading Post Inn, a rambling old building built into the side of a rock bluff. Smoke drifted from the chimney. Inside, the inn smelled of spicewood, grease, and distant desert. Harding, the innkeeper, was a wide man with faded tattoos on his forearms and a missing finger. He squinted at Empt, then cracked a grin. "Stars above. Empt? That you? Still breathing, old hound." Harding laughed, then ushered them all in. "Looks like you've got your hands full." He eyed the concubines but said nothing more. Each woman kept close to Empt, casting wary looks at passing traders. They sat around a large hearth, drying their hair and whispering among themselves in the Kaldorian tongue. Terra curled beside the fire. "He struck while we were bathing. That's sacred time. He knew we would be unarmed. He knows our customs better than most of our kin," Dora added bitterly. "I don't understand any of this," Empt muttered. Lena leaned toward him, her purple fingers brushing his knee. "Would you let us show you?" That night, in one of the side rooms of the inn, they prepared the ritual. Empt sat on a woven mat, shirtless, a shallow dish of luminescent sand before him. Around him stood Lena, Terra, Mira, Dora, Elin, and Era, each cloaked in the ceremonial silks of their people, colors dyed in tones that matched their skin: violet, crimson, emerald, sapphire. Era spoke first. In Kaldorian bond tradition, the concubine chooses the moment to accept a lord. It is not by force. It is through ritual, through willingness. Through touch. She dipped her fingers into the glowing sand and traced a mark across Empt's chest, an ancient symbol, a swirl within a circle. "Each of us," said Terra, kneeling beside him, "offers a piece of her will to serve, not in submission, but in promise." Mira lit incense, its blue smoke curling like a serpent. Dora brought out a carved chalice. Elin whispered prayers in a language that Empt could barely hear but felt deep in his bones. Then came Lena. She knelt last, cupping Empt's face in both hands. Her eyes glowed in the dark, not from light, but from emotion. "I have seen you bleed," she said. "I have seen you break the laws of worlds to protect what you believe. You do not wear a crown, Empt, but your hands are cleaner than those who do." She kissed him, softly, reverently. The room grew still. Even the candles held their breath. Later, after the others had drifted to rest, Empt remained awake. Lena lay beside him, head tucked against his shoulder. "They weren't always like this," she whispered. "Concubines. Our kind once ruled. We built towers that touched the moons. Then came the purges. Norland's grandfather changed everything. Women became symbols. Pretty things to be collected. I'm not looking to own anyone. I know. That's why we follow you." The next morning, Harding met him in the cellar, away from curious ears. "Your girl with the emerald skin," he grunted, chewing on a reed, "she's right. I saw a man poking around the Artemis 2 nights ago. Didn't get a good look, but he had one of those yellow cloaks, old court enforcers wear them." Empt swore. "Norland's reach extends even here. You gonna run?" Empt looked up the stairs, where muffled laughter drifted down. "No. I'm going to fix my ship. And then I'm going to make sure Norland never touches them again." Outside the inn, the winds were picking up. Era approached him as he finished calibrating a portable shield emitter. "You intend to fight him?" "I intend to win." "Then you must understand this, Empt. If you become our bonded lord in full, if you take the right to completion, your name will be entered into the blood ledger. That will make you a target not just of Norland, but of every house that fears his wrath." Empt set the emitter down and stood. "I didn't save you to keep you caged. But if there's a way to break this chain, not just for you, but for everyone, then I'll wear the mark and take the risk." She nodded, placing her hand over his heart. "Then you're no longer just a protector." He stepped closer. "What am I, then?" Era looked up, her voice low. "You are ours." The scent of steamed herbs and old wood lingered in the air as the dim lantern above the guest room swayed gently. Outside, the wind howled through the cracks of the old trading post inn, whispering secrets from the endless dunes beyond. Inside, Emp sat by the window, one leg propped on the sill, boots half unlaced, his eyes scanning the shadowy streets. His pulse remained steady despite the tension in the room. Behind him, Era stood near the stone hearth, her eyes distant, arms folded tight across her middle. Her silver-blue skin shimmered faintly in the firelight, as if something beneath the surface pulsed in time with her breathing. "I need to tell you something," she said finally, her voice low but unshaking. Emp turned, one brow raised. "This about the sabotage?" She shook her head. "It's about why Norland wants me. Why he'd risk everything to keep me caged." Lena, curled in a chair beside the bed, perked up at the name, her lavender gaze flicking between them. "Is this about the artifact you mentioned before?" Era nodded. She stepped closer, pulled a satchel from under her cloak, and unwrapped a small velvet cloth. Inside lay a crystalline shard, no bigger than a clenched fist. It throbbed with an inner light, like a slow heartbeat, red, then amber, then gold. Emp leaned forward. "That's it? It's called the Heart of Caloria." Era's voice softened. "It's a living relic. Not made. Born. Ancient as the storms themselves. My ancestors protected it for centuries, but Norland found out and, he wanted to use it. For what? To bind Kaldorian bloodlines to his control," she said, eyes flickering to Lena. "It's symbiotic. It bonds to a host, not just spiritually, but biologically. It fuses to the one it chooses. That was supposed to be me." Lena's hand gripped the chair. "Was?" Era met Emp's gaze. "It rejected me, until I met you." The room went silent, save for the crackling fire. "What do you mean?" Emp asked, brow furrowed. "I had been carrying it for years. Nothing happened. But when you pulled me from that cell, it reacted. I felt it. It moved inside me. It woke." He looked at the shard. "It pulsed brighter now, humming gently." "It responds to you," Era whispered. "Your touch, your presence." Emp stood slowly, as if afraid the wrong movement would shatter the air. "You think it bonded to me?" "I don't think. I know." Lena stood as well. "Then that means Norland. He'll come for you next," Era finished. The fire flickered and dimmed. For a heartbeat, the light from the artifact filled the room with golden warmth, casting ethereal shadows on the walls. "I've started to change," Era added quietly. Emp stepped closer. "How?" She hesitated, then unfastened the top clasp of her robe. The skin beneath her collarbone glowed faintly, not a wound, not a tattoo, but something alive. A pattern of lines and pulses radiated outward from her sternum, forming a sunburst. "It's growing," she said. "It's adapting me. Enhancing me. And I feel things differently now. Stronger. Sharper. And there's more." She glanced away, hesitant. "If we stay close long enough, if we remain bonded, it might lead to reproduction." Emp blinked. "You mean?" Era's cheeks flushed violet. "Yes. This bond isn't just emotional. It's biological. And it chooses continuity through union." Lena stepped forward, tension stiffening her posture. "You're saying, this thing made you fertile? With him?" Era didn't deny it. Emp turned away, exhaling. "We weren't exactly planning for this." "No one plans for the heart of Caloria," Era murmured. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It brimmed with heat and confusion. Lena's voice cut through it, cool and brittle. "So where does that leave us?" Emp turned, reading her expression. There was something unspoken behind her eyes, something raw and long-held. "You've barely looked at me since we arrived," she said softly. "But I've been here too. I've watched your back. I've held your weapons. And maybe I'm not chosen by an ancient stone, but I feel things too, Empt. He blinked, taken aback. Lena, I didn't. I know you didn't, she said. That's the problem. Era glanced away, jaw clenched. The tension curled through the room like smoke, thick and suffocating. Before anyone could speak again, the door creaked. Dora, the innkeeper's daughter, slipped in with wide eyes. You need to come. Now. Empt crossed the room. What is it? Harding says there are armored scouts 2 blocks down. Not just traders. Real uniforms. Norlands. Damn it. Empt's hands curled into fists. How'd they find us? They're sweeping, Dora whispered. One of them mentioned a heat signature. Something not matching the local registry. Ira's fingers brushed the artifact. The heart is hot. It's alive. They're tracking it. Empt snapped into motion. We can't stay. Lena grabbed her pack. We need a plan. Era wrapped the heart again, eyes wide with fear and resolve. We head east. Across the canal. There's a wrecked sub-tram line. I know a path through. And after? Lena asked. Era turned to Empt. We hide. Or we fight. But we do it together. He looked between them. 2 women. 2 storms. 1 heart of fire. Then we move now, he said. Before they get any closer. As the group slipped into the night, the guest room remained behind, empty, save for the warmth still fading from the hearth. But in the distance, another fire had already been lit, the fire of pursuit, of ancient power waking, and of hearts no longer bound by silence. The warehouse was cloaked in shadow, its corrugated metal skin barely reflecting the low-glow lanterns Empt and the others had set up along the catwalks and stairwells. It had once served as a trading post depot, now, it was their last sanctuary. Empt stood with Harding, the grizzled ex-marine turned innkeeper, studying a map of the underground network etched into the concrete wall with chalk and old grease. The launch sites under the old waste tunnels, Harding said, stabbing the spot with a gloved finger. Half collapsed, but there's a clean route through the back of this warehouse. Just 1 shuttle. If you split, it buys you time. Era hovered nearby, her iridescent robes fluttering as if responding to the pulsing light within her chest. The heart of Caloria, the living artifact Norland craved, had bonded with her. It responded now not just to her thoughts, but to Empt's presence. It shimmered when he entered a room. Pulsed when he touched her. Empt met Ira's eyes, then glanced back at the others gathered near the stairs. Mira tightened a bundle of supplies with steady fingers. Elin and Dora helped Tara disassemble a cracked navigation screen, salvaging chips and wire. Lena stood apart, arms folded, her gaze locked on Era with a quiet fury beneath her calm exterior. The split had already been decided. Empt, Dora, Lena, and Tara would stay. They would repair the Artemis. By time. Era, Mira, and Elin would escape with the heart aboard the hidden shuttle. It wasn't ideal, but with Norland's patrols closing in, it was their only chance. Lena stepped forward as Empt returned to the group. We've packed enough rations for the shuttle crew, and Mira's configured the launch codes. But there's something you need to know before we separate. Empt paused. Go on. Her gaze cut to Era, who looked down, color rising faintly under her pale skin. The heart has begun its imprint cycle. It bonds on a biological level, not just emotional. If the connection completes, and it's already well underway, there's a high chance Era could be pregnant. With your child. Silence dropped like a hammer. Tara's hand paused over the toolkit. Dora blinked, then slowly looked between Empt and Era. The shimmer of the heart glowed brighter. Empt's voice was rough. Is that true? Era lifted her eyes. I felt the change 2 days ago. At first I thought it was just the heart responding to stress. But, it's deeper. It's inside me. It recognizes you. He exhaled slowly, one hand dragging through his hair. It wasn't rejection in his eyes, more disbelief, mingled with a strange sense of awe and fear. Harding cleared his throat. That's more reason to move fast. If Norland gets his hands on her now, he's got leverage you can't undo. Emp nodded, then turned to the group. Get your gear. Mira, Elin, Era, you leave in 1 hour. Stick to the back tunnel. Harding will guide you. The rest of us stay here. We patch up the Artemis and make ready to fly. The goodbye was quiet. Mira gave Dora a long hug, whispering something only sisters could understand. Elin gave Emp a sharp nod, grudging respect. Era hesitated in front of him. Her hand touched his chest. The glow from the heart warmed against his skin. No matter where I go, she said softly, I feel you now. If I carry your child, I want them to know you. Not the soldier. You. His hands cupped her face, just for a second. Stay alive. Keep moving. Don't look back. Then she was gone. Night fell hard on the warehouse. The silence was almost sacred, broken only by the creak of metal and the hiss of old generators. Emp stood on the hull of the Artemis, stripped down to the bone and half covered in dust. Dora passed him a wrench, her hair tied up, sweat darkening her collar. Lena soldered a relay conduit nearby, the heat shimmer dancing across her cheeks. Tara ran diagnostics inside the cockpit. Did you ever think you'd be doing this? Dora asked, wiping oil on her pants. No, Emp admitted. Not with 3 maids of Caloria. Not with a damn artifact binding itself to me. And definitely not while being hunted by Norland's entire prefecture. Dora chuckled. It's not so bad. We're learning. Growing. Surviving, Lena added sharply, not looking up. Emp glanced at her. Something bothering you? She finally set down her tools and met his gaze. Her expression wasn't anger, it was pain. You bonded with her. I get it. But it wasn't just the heart that drew her to you. It was you. And that means the rest of us, we're still here, feeling things you don't seem to see. He stepped down, slowly. Lena, I never. I know, she interrupted. You didn't ask for this. But neither did we. And now we're caught in the gravity of something that changes everything. Dora leaned back, watching with narrowed eyes but saying nothing. Emp closed the distance. I didn't ask for it, but I feel it. The bond isn't just with Era. I care about all of you. What we've been through, it matters. Lena studied him a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, she kissed him. Not desperate, not rushed. Just firm. Real. When she pulled back, she smiled bitterly. Then prove it. Stay alive. Get that ship flying. And don't forget us when you see her again. They worked through the night. Tara cracked the sublight diagnostics and began recalibrating the power mesh. Dora jury-rigged the fusion line bypass. Lena and Emp fused the last of the external plating. Each hour brought a small triumph. Each glance between them carried tension and unspoken truths. By dawn, they had power. The Artemis lit up with a low hum, her systems flickering to life like a breathing creature slowly awakening from a long, brutal sleep. Emp collapsed into the pilot's seat and let out a long breath. Tara clapped her hands, Dora whooped. Lena stood behind him, her hand resting on the back of his chair. We're not out yet, Emp said. Norland will know Era's gone. He'll come here. And we need to fly before that happens. Lena whispered, then we'd better be ready. He nodded. The heart of Caloria pulsed once in the distance, and though she was gone, Emp felt her. Felt all of them. And something in his chest, once cold and hard, began to burn. With purpose. With bond. With something dangerously close to hope. The wind howled around Norland's fortress, whipping the sand into waves that battered the high stone walls like the fists of the gods. Hidden in the shadows beyond the outer ridge, Empt crouched beside the others, his breath shallow, eyes fixed on the towering gates of the east tower. Beside him, Lena ran a final systems check on the Artemis's field disruptor, a compact device retrofitted from the ship's auxiliary components. Terra gripped a pulse bow with trembling fingers, and Dora adjusted her stolen guard uniform, her green skin pale beneath the helmet. "This is madness," Dora whispered. "We should wait. Find another way." Empt shook his head. "There's no time. Norland will take Era off-world tonight if we don't act. We've seen the launch manifests." "She's in the tower's vault chamber," Lena added. "Kaldorian tradition means he'll keep her close before the rites." Terra looked to Empt, her voice low but steady. "Then we strike now. For Era." The gate guards were already shifting during the twilight watch, a perfect window. The disruptor pulsed once, twice, then a shimmer of light peeled back the gate's shield, just long enough for them to slip through. Silent as shadows, they entered. Inside, the fortress was a monolith of old-world Kaldorian design, crimson banners, etched steel walls, and flickering lightstones. Every step echoed like a war drum. They moved swiftly through the corridors, Dora disabling 2 sentries with tranquilizers, Terra launching a stun bolt at a patrolling drone. As they approached the east tower, Lena paused, fingers against the wall. "She's close. The heart. I can feel it. It's resonating." Empt nodded. "Then stay sharp. Norland's expecting resistance." In the vaulted chamber atop the tower, Era sat beneath a cage of light. The heart of Caloria glowed faintly against her chest, its crystalline branches curled along her collarbones. Her once bright eyes were dim, her body limp. "She's fading," Lena whispered. "He's draining her to try and claim the heart." A voice boomed from the shadows, "And yet she still clings to you, even now." Norland stepped forward, clad in ceremonial armor, blackened steel adorned with pulsating crimson veins. His eyes locked on Empt. "You have defiled our rights, human. Taken what was never meant for you." Empt drew his blade. "She chose me. Not your rituals. Not your chains." Norland's lips curled. "Then let tradition decide. Ritual combat. Winner claims the heart. And the bearer." "Agreed," Empt said, stepping forward as his companions hesitated. Era stirred. "No. Empt." He gave her a look of quiet promise. Then the battle began. Steel met steel, sparks lighting the chamber. Norland was powerful, trained in ancient Kaldorian arts. He struck with fury, channeling force through his armor, each blow shaking the floor. Empt dodged and countered, his fighting more fluid, human unpredictability matching Norland's brute precision. For minutes, they clashed, neither gaining ground. But Norland grew impatient, overextending in a lunging arc. Empt pivoted, sliding beneath his strike, and drove his blade upward. The ritual blade struck true, cutting through Norland's chest plate. The prefect gasped, knees hitting the ground. The heart pulsed violently on Era's chest, then flared outward, waves of crimson and gold light washing through the room. Empt dropped to one knee beside Era. She looked up at him, her lips trembling. "You came for me. Always." The heart of Caloria pulsed again, and in a sudden cascade, it split into 7 rays. Each one streaked toward Empt and the women, Lena, Terra, Dora, and vanished into their chests. The effect was immediate. Visions danced in their minds, memories not their own, emotions blending, thoughts shared. A psychic bond. They gasped, each feeling the other's presence intimately. Love. Grief. Determination. And Era's final whisper in their minds. "I'm carrying his child. Emp's eyes widened. He turned to her, but she was already smiling faintly. Lena wept silently. Tara placed a hand on Ira's shoulder. Dora steadied Emp. There was no time to speak. The alarms began to scream. Their escape was chaos. As they raced down the tower, Lena activated the Artemis remotely. The ship launched a distraction volley at the west wall, drawing half the garrison. By the time they reached the courtyard, the Artemis was already descending. Tara fired at incoming drones. Dora disabled the last gate lock. Emp carried Era, still weak from the heart strain. They burst into the clearing just as the ship's ramp lowered. Gunfire chased them up the ramp. Lena hit the controls. The bay sealed. Artemis roared skyward. They drifted in orbit, the fortress shrinking below. Inside the ship, silence reigned. Emp stood by the viewport, his hand on the glass. Behind him, Era approached, resting a hand on her belly. "It's true," she whispered. "The bond. The child." He turned. She looked radiant, eyes clear, energy returned. "You saved us all," she said. "Not just from Norland. From what we were becoming." Tara joined them. "What we are now, it's something new." "Family," Lena said softly. "And we're heading home," Dora added. "Earth. It's time." They landed in a Pacific quarantine zone weeks later. Earth's authorities were cautious, but Emp's reputation, and the bond they shared with the heart, could not be ignored. In time, acceptance grew. Era was received as an envoy, Tara and Dora as ambassadors of Kaldorian renewal. Lena led a neural empathy research unit. And Emp, he simply stayed close, raising their daughter. They named her Hope. With pale golden eyes and faint silver lines across her skin, Hope was born of two worlds. The heart pulsed faintly in her crib, its bond still glowing inside them all. Years passed. Hope grew, walking the halls of Earth's newly built embassy for extraterrestrial unity. She held hands with children of different species. She spoke in empathic tones, calming disputes, bridging cultures. One day, she stood atop the old Artemis, now a museum piece, and looked out over the city skyline. Behind her, Emp stood beside Era, arms around her waist. Lena, Dora, and Tara stood beside them, watching the world their bond had reshaped. "She's going to change everything," Lena said. "She already has," Era whispered. The wind carried their laughter into the evening sky, where the stars had once only meant war, and now, held the quiet promise of peace. Their storm had passed. Their family had risen. And the future was no longer built by conquest, but by love.